Welcome to Restoring Education in America with Priscilla Ron. She's a master educator and author, leading the conversation to restore the American mind through wisdom, virtue, and truth.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Restoring Education in America. I'm your host, Priscilla Ron, and I'm so thrilled that you've decided to join the conversation today. It's a wonderful year, 2026. It's America's 250th birthday. There's so many amazing things happening all across the nation in schools, but I have something really exciting to share. There's a new private school that's opening this fall. It's called Excalibur Classical Academy, and their mission and vision is restoring America's heritage by developing servant leaders who are keepers and defenders of the principles of freedom for which our founding fathers pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. They're a private school opening in the Centennial, Colorado area. And if you know I-25 and Maggiano's, it's really close to there, Dry Creek, okay? If you have children that are starting school this fall, kindergarten through third grade, please reach out to Excalibur for more information. Their website is excaliburclassicalacademy.org, and they're also hiring for some amazing educators. So please go to their website. Well, there's a lot of things that are happening in our nation, and especially with Project 21, which I'm an ambassador for. So I want to bring my friend to the stage. He's my brother from another mother, Mr. Terris Todd. How are you, Terris?
Doing good. Thanks for having me again. Appreciate it.
It's always great to talk with you. We talk actually regularly because you are the director of Project 21. Yes. But before we get too far into our conversation, I'm going to share your bio with our listeners. So Terris Todd is the director of coalitions and outreach for the Project 21 Black Leadership Network and author of Just Being There, A Parent's Guide to Raising Children. Terris recently served as the advisor of coalitions engagement at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C. In 2020, Terris was appointed by the White House to be the executive director of the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for African Americans in the U.S. Department of Education, where he focused on working with educational professionals in the public and private sectors to elevate and bring awareness to the challenges faced by African American students in the country, and on leveraging resources to help ensure students are prepared for college and productive careers that contribute to the well-being of society. He is the host of In the Classroom with Mr. Todd, a podcast on Anchor and Spotify. And Terris was born and raised in Battle Creek, Michigan. He has worked as a public school teacher, administrator, and college instructor. He currently resides in Woodbridge, Virginia, but his biggest job is husband to his beautiful wife, Karen, and his 3 lovely daughters, one of which you just graduated, right?
Yes. Yeah. My second daughter just graduated from Western Michigan University, where I'm alum as well.
What was her major?
Psychology. Yeah. She eventually wants to get her master's degree and, maybe open up her own private practice working with children and families.
Very good. Well, good job, Dad. And you've worn many, many hats. When I met you the first time, I was the vice chair of the Colorado GOP.
Yeah,
and
that's
you
right.
came, to Western Conservative Summit. I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah,
I gotta meet him. I can't remember. You were talking about, was it CRT or something?
Yeah, I think it was CRT. Yeah, critical race theory. Yeah. I was on a panel discussion there at that conference, and when we finished talking on the panel, that's when I noticed that you were walking our way. I said, "Uh-oh, here it comes."
I made a beeline to you. I was
you were definitely gracious, and I thank the Lord that He connected us because we've been together ever since and been doing amazing work. And I'm real proud of what you're doing there in Colorado.
Well, I really appreciate that you've invited me to be a Project 21 ambassador. Real quickly, for our listeners who might not know what Project 21 is, tell us a little bit of the history and what the mission is for Project 21.
Sure. So Project 21 overall is 21 meaning the 21st century. It launched back in 1992 as a result of the Rodney King issue that was taking place out in California. And what happened was the founders of the National Center for Public Policy Research, which Project 21 is a program of the National Center, they realized that we had some trouble, and the trouble was that Black conservative voices were not even being considered in the conversation about what was happening in their own communities. And so as a result of that, you get our chairman, Horace Cooper, and many others who had come together as founding members of Project 21 to say, hey, I think this is definitely time for us to launch something that literally kind of, elevates the voice of Black conservatives all over the country. And so that's how Project 21 had started. And so that's been our mission ever since. It's to really elevate the voices of Black conservatives all over the country in media, whether that's social media, like, your podcast here, or radio, or even in, Fox News, One American News, CNN. We have people on Newsmax, Newsmax 2, and you name it, the list goes on and on. PBS, we have some people on there. We have some people on several different radio stations all over the country, be it local or national syndicated radio. I'm now, one of the standing, visitors, or should I say voices, on the Vic Percelli show out of St. Louis, and also on the Peter Vasquez show out of Rochester, New York. They do amazing work there. And so, in the, and it grows from there, but we have several ambassadors as well that are, leading voices in different media platforms. And so anyway, that's been our goal. And we've been expanding this ambassadorship ever since I started a little over a year ago. So anyway, we have about a total over the years since 92, we have like probably over 400 and something ambassadors nationwide. And so when I came on, I think we added close to 100 more.
So this is really amazing for people to understand that Project 21 has a really diverse group of experts in different fields.
That's right.
And when I came on as an education expert, there were so many doors that opened for me through Project 21, media opportunities. I've been on Fox, I've been on Newsmax, just because Project 21 was able to connect me to these big news outlets. But like you said, other people in smaller networks and towns that have great reach as well. I've been able to speak to a lot of people about important issues around education. So I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really grateful for Horace Cooper, because he's big in media and he's been a great mentor to so many of us. Just chat a little bit about who Horace Cooper is, because there are a lot of people who might not know who he is. Yeah,
so Horace Cooper is our chairman. He's the chairman of Project 21, and he also sits on the board of the National Center here in Washington, D.C. Horace Cooper is, he lives in Houston, Texas area. He was born and raised there, from my understanding, and but he also spent some time here in DC on Capitol Hill, I think close to 20 years. I think exactly it's like 18 or 19 years he was working on the Hill. His background is law. He was also, I think, an associate professor of law at George Mason University for a number of years. And he's been highly respected in that regard with, his law background and whatnot. But he also is a communications guy. He owns his own business. He has some amazing people that's working with him in regards to communications, and it's really more of like a public affairs kind of a business, but he has contracts with various different, organizations. And so he's doing amazing work. He travels all over, touching base with people. He's a Christian man. I had the pleasure of sitting down with Horace to do my review, of my 1-year review. And it was a blessing. I mean, we met at a local restaurant here in DC, and I got a chance to really get to know the heart of the man. And I was truly impressed, and I was thankful to the Lord that we were able to have that time together to get to know each other on that level as brothers in Christ. So, yeah, so that's kind of him in a nutshell. He's not married. I don't think he has any children, but he did have a foster son. He told me that he raised, and he still has a relationship with his foster son, and that went really well. So I was really proud of the fact that he, reached back and he grabbed someone to help raise a child that was without a family, basically. And so, so his heart is really in the right place. He's an amazing human being, and I thank the Lord for him.
Well, I'm going to be interviewing him here shortly, and I'm going to ask him if you got an A+ on your review.
Nah.
I
guess we'll find out.
I'll get the tea. I'll get the tea.
Yeah, on national news.
So Terris, we are not a monolith. I think that's the other powerful thing about all of us conservative Black voices in these spaces, to say we don't always agree on what the left tells us we should agree upon. And a lot of us who are Project 21 ambassadors are well into our careers, we have families, but you have a new initiative that you're working on with some younger folks. Talk to us about this new vision for the next generation.
Yeah. So Project 21, when I came on, I noticed that we did not have any type of program that literally reached back and helped build the next generation of Black conservative voices, because they're out here, they're on college campuses, they're at HBCUs and so on. And the thing that has been said for many, many years now is that Black Americans are pretty much conservative, in their values socially and whatnot. I mean, we have faith in God. We believe in, believe in family, father and a mother in the home and whatnot, even though unfortunately, we have a lot of, fatherless homes right now, but we still believe in family. We still believe that a father and a mother should be at the helm of the family, and they should both have engagement in raising their own children. We believe in freedom. We believe in free market enterprise. We believe in all of this stuff, capitalism. We believe in making money. I think, that needs to be passed down, though, because if we don't pass this down to the next generation of the things that we believe in, and really what our ancestors has passed on to us throughout the generations from slavery until today, then it'll get lost, because we don't want them ending up with, landing in the hands of the leftist individuals who are basically Marxists. These are just Marxist ideologies, or communism, really, to be honest with you, all entrenched in that kind of ideology. And so we want to reach out. We want to be the one that's on the front line of reaching out to the next generation to build the next generation of conservative Black voices all over the country and the world, quite frankly. And so yeah, that initiative is coming out. We're right now in the recruitment phase of really recruiting the next generation of people, because I'm going to have 3 cohorts this year that we're launching as pilots. And these individuals will be trained. They will be trained by professionals, ambassadors like yourself. And I'm even including myself in on that, because we want them to be ready for the workforce. We want them to be ready for entrepreneurship or business. We want them to know the importance of family, marriage and those kind of things. And so everything that conservatism, embodies, we want them to know that they're not on an island by themselves. And so they don't have to be, recruited by some crazy ideology that's just far out there that is just absolute lunacy. But anyway, that's what we're after. And by the end of this, each cohort, the plan is that these young people will have maybe some policy initiatives that we can present to their congressman or congresswoman on Capitol Hill, and hopefully it turns into something to where it ends up becoming law at some point. So that is the hope and plan of the next generation of young Black ambassadors through our youth program. And so to be continued. I look forward to coming back and telling you and giving your audience an update of how that program is actually going. But I'm pretty optimistic, because there is a need for it.
So talking about the next generation is really critical. A lot of people don't know that about 80% of Black parents are pro-school choice.
Yes.
We currently have a Secretary of Education at the Federal Department of Ed who's very pro-choice.
Yeah.
You worked in the Federal Department of Education under Trump's first administration. Terris, why do you think pro-choice is so important and so attractive to Black families and families in general?
Yeah, well, Black families, and like you said, families in general, simply because this is the United States of America. I mean, freedom is our banner, right? I mean, we're the land of the free, home of the brave, so to speak. And so, and that's why a lot of people from all over the world come to this nation. We're like the envy of the world because of our freedoms. And so why would we not have the freedom to choose what we believe is best for our children's education? It's just absolute craziness. And so, that is the best approach. And like you mentioned earlier, about 80% of Black and even Hispanic Americans really believe in school choice. There was a study that was done some years ago when I worked with the administration. Even the Heritage Foundation picked up on this study because it was done under the first term of the president's administration. And they noticed that about 43 to 45% of Congress sent their kids to private schools. But yet they're trying to basically tell you, you don't get a choice. That makes no sense, especially with Black Americans in this country whose ancestors didn't get a choice. Matter of fact, many of them were beaten. Many of them were maybe even killed if they were found to be educated, knowing how to read and stuff like that. And so to come all the way to today's time and not have that choice is absolute craziness. And so that's why I'm thankful that the current president's administration, as well as the Secretary McMahon, they are real big on choice, and so are we, and that's part of conservatism.
Well, I think they understand that there's no one size fits all, and
That's
that
right.
if we're going to meet the needs of kids, then we're going to have to give children options. And
Yeah,
public school should be one of those options. We're not anti
that's right.
options,
That's right.
parents, if they love their local public school, then by all means, but it doesn't necessarily fit with all kids. And when you're talking about what's going on from state to state, and you mentioned, these problems with some of these laws and liberal ideologies like DEI and CRT that we don't necessarily agree with. Well, I want assurance that if I send my children to school, that they're going to come home with the same values that I sent them to school with. And so that's what's critical. And that's why I'm a part of Excalibur Classical Academy. That's a private school where we're going to partner with parents. But let's talk about higher ed, because you have been on a foundation at an HBCU. Talk a little bit about the foundation and the importance of HBCUs.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that. So fresh out of high school, I had the pleasure of attending Norfolk State University here in Norfolk, Virginia. That's where I got my start. That's where I cut my teeth into manhood. And so it's interesting because even though I attended Norfolk State University, I ended up transferring back to Michigan, and I got both of my degrees in education from Western Michigan University. But fast forwarding, is interesting because a friend of mine that I grew up with, she was on the University Foundation Board at Norfolk State, and she got a hold of me, called me up and asked if I would be interested. And I said, absolutely, I'll be honored. And so that's how I actually got involved. I was, voted in to be on the Norfolk State University Foundation Board. And when I started working with the administration at the Department of Ed, I stepped back because I didn't want there to be a conflict, right? So any conflict of interest. And so they had told me that, if I would love to rejoin them after, working with the administration, that they would welcome me back. And so that's exactly what happened. So when they found out I was no longer with the administration, they looped back around and got a hold of me and asked me to return. And that's what I did. And so I'm there currently, and I'm on the University of Mary Washington Board of Visitors. I was appointed by Governor Glenn Youngkin to that board in Fredericksburg, Virginia, And so, but HBCUs are very important. I mean, the work that we do there and the money that is actually raised to help with scholarships, for students who may fall, their families may have fallen on hard times and whatnot. But we're growing in our revenue, and we're growing in our impact on student achievement and stuff like that at Norfolk State. And so I'm really, really proud to be a part of a lot of the great work that we're doing there. And so the president of the university, she's doing an amazing job. She's doing an amazing job there as well. And so I really love her, man, because when I went under, I had to have surgery on my neck one time, and totally unexpected. They sent me, just a wonderful card with everyone's signature, a wonderful message, man. It was a blessing, man. I totally wasn't expecting it. So they truly feel like family, and I thank the Lord that I'm a part of it.
Something that a lot of people may not know is that President Trump has allocated millions of dollars to HBCUs. He gets such a bad rap. People on the left call him racist. And I think, do you realize how much he's given even to scholarship students in DC, where Obama cut? People don't know Obama cut scholarships to students in DC. Talk a little bit about that and about how this current administration is actually supporting HBCUs.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. In the first term when I was there, again, that was part of my responsibility working with the administration. When the White House appointed me there, I was specifically designed in my position to work with Black American students in the country. And so I worked alongside the HBCU initiative as well. And so I was more on the K-12 level, and I did tap into the post-secondary level as well. But we worked alongside, and we did that. And it was truly amazing to see that even when the Secretary DeVos was meeting, had a phone conference with a lot of the HBCU presidents at that time, they specifically said that they were satisfied with what the administration was doing. But unfortunately, because of media, because of the slanted media, that word or that story never got out. And so at that time, he had been the one to have really funded them the most, And you're absolutely right. what doesn't go on, doesn't get said or doesn't get noticed is that Obama, you're right, he did cut. As a matter of fact, when I worked for the public school system, that was the reason why I got laid off in 2012, because Obama administration cut funding, federal funding to the states, which then trickled down to the local level. And so me, as well as several others, we were laid off that year and to never return back to education. At least I didn't in that capacity. But yeah, that was a cut. So, but HBCUs are very important because they produce the highest percentage of Black doctors and so on. And they're doing an amazing job. I know at Norfolk State University, one of our great programs is the nursing program. We have an excellent, program in cybersecurity, which obviously we know that is very important nowadays. And so, and the list goes on. But HBCUs are very important. It's pride. It's family heritage to a lot of students. And another thing people don't understand about HBCUs, they're historically Black colleges and university. That doesn't mean they're still just Black only schools. As a matter of fact, if you go on Norfolk State University's website and you look at some of the athletics, I think it was baseball. The last I saw, it was majority white. And so anyway, HBCUs have become far more diverse, even in their bands. My youngest daughter goes to Clark Atlanta University. She's in the band, but HBCUs have now become so diversified. It's been a blessing and a beautiful thing to see and watch over the years. But HBCU is exactly what they're saying. They are historically Black colleges and universities because we all know the segregated times of our country. They had to have a place to go and learn. And they did amazing work. They produced inventors. They produced doctors, attorneys, business people, scientists, you name it. They produced it. Howard University, and the list goes on. A lot of these universities are producing a lot of Black American professionals that quite frankly, the world needs to know about and hear about.
If you're just tuning in, my special guest today is Terris Todd. He's the director of Project 21. And Terris, so it's America's 250th birthday. There's just so many great things to celebrate this year, our history. Sure. We didn't always have a Department of Education. President Trump earlier in 2025 signed an executive order to eliminate the Department of Education. We know that takes an act of Congress, but there's been quite a bit of decrease or changes in where some of the functionality of the Department of Education it has changed. So what's your opinion? You've worked at the federal level in the Department of Education. Should we still have a federal Department of Education, or should it just go back to the states? What do you think?
Well, the states have always controlled it anyway. About 93% of the control is at the state and local level. I mean, most people know that, 93% of the funding comes from state and local government, and about 7 to 8% comes from the federal government. And so I don't know, Priscilla, to me, it's very simple. If I own a company and I own 93% of that company, why would I give the majority of say to the one who only owns 7 to 8%? That doesn't make sense. Or why would that 7 to 8% have such a huge impact? You know what I mean? It's beyond me. But truthfully, I do believe, having worked there on the 7th floor, staring at the Capitol building every day out of my office, I do believe that they're on the right path with decentralizing this function and sending that authority or anointing those state level governments and local governments to say, hey, the education that's more closest to the students and families is what's best for you guys. Why would you want bureaucrats in Washington deciding your fate at the local level? It makes no sense. And they never have. The federal level, we don't have any school buses. We don't own any buildings. We don't have any teachers. We don't, none of that. We don't control any of that. So bottom line, all of that is controlled. We have no curriculums. I mean, the federal government is not controlling curriculums in the school districts and whatnot. So it makes perfect sense why we should send this authority or this blessing back to the states. Now, keep in mind, the funding is not necessarily going away when it comes to students with disabilities and stuff like that and Title I folks. But at the same time, they're sending it back. It was at other agencies, and before the Department of Ed was even formed. That function was at other agencies like the Department of Treasury and the Labor, or whatever, or Health and Human Services or USDA or whatever. That money was there. It was in those other places before the Department of Ed was even formed. And so I don't know why people are up in arms about that. I think it's just, of course, it's political because the Department of Ed has become like a pass-through for funding. It's to fund agendas versus funding the actual student in the classroom. And so I'm all for it. We're supportive of it at Project 21 in the National Center. I think they're on the right path with making for sure that function or that priority goes back to the states, because again, the education that's closest to the child and their families is what's best for them, and rightfully so. And people will thank us later. They probably are upset because it's a political thing for them, but they will certainly thank us a lot later because that's the right thing to do.
So, Terris, it's really important in our community to have fathers back in the home, and there's been an attack on the family. Talk about your faith and how your faith is interconnected into the work that you do, both at Project 21 and as an educator.
I'm glad you said that, because as an educator, my faith is everything. Well, my faith is everything with whatever role I'm playing, whether it's a husband, a father, or an elected official, someone in government, someone in policy now. But faith is everything. I mean, all of this is made possible because of God, period, full stop. And everything that I do, specifically me personally, and even the people that I work with, a lot of it is driven by our faith and looking through the lens of how God would see it according to the scripture. I try to make for sure every day, every morning I wake up, before I told some people this, before I meet with man, I meet with God first. And that is the truth. I have my time in the morning before, I even step foot on the ground in my bedroom. I literally get into my devotion, get in my prayer time and my focus with the Lord. And then when I'm finished talking to the Lord, then I call my wife. And so that's been my order for several years. It's been that order ever since. And even if my mom calls sometimes, I don't even answer because I'm maybe talking to the Lord, or I'm maybe, need to talk to my wife first. And so that's been my own personal conviction. And I try to live by that in everything that I do. Even with these programs, I pray over all of our ambassadors. I pray over your families. I pray over my coworkers. I just pray for our nation and the world ultimately, because as people of faith, that's what we're called to do in the first place. And so I just want the Lord to be pleased with what we're doing here at Project 21 and the work that we're doing to impact our world. My goal is to leave it better than I found it.
Well, Terris Todd, I'm looking at the time and we have to land our plane. I've really thoroughly enjoyed having this conversation with you as always. For my listeners, thanks for tuning in. And if you are catching this on YouTube as an encore, you know what to do: like, subscribe, and share. You guys catch me next time. And remember, educating the mind without the heart is no education. So seek wisdom, cultivate virtue, and speak truth.
Thanks for tuning in to Restoring Education in America with Priscilla Ron. Visit PriscillaRon.com to connect or learn how you can sponsor future episodes to keep this message of faith, freedom, and education on the air.